Shagufa Kapadia, Professor of Human Development and Family Studies at the MS University of Baroda. I'm happy to share the highlights of my research inquiry into the prevalence of Indic cultural and religious mentalities related to food and eating, including any transitions therein, and highlight its potential in contributing to sustainable development. The inquiry was centered on the broad classification of food into vegetarian and non-vegetarian food. Gujarat is known as a predominantly vegetarian state and hence an appropriate context to study this aspect. Young individuals were the focal group of this inquiry. We interviewed different groups of young people in the age range of 18 to 30 years from urban middle-class families in Baroda city. So there were vegetarians, non-vegetarians, and those who had recently transitioned from non-veg to veg food and vice versa. We chose the transitioning individuals as they would be more mindful about their food choices and the reasons for the shift. Based on the reasons for their choice or preference, the vegetarians could be classified into 4 broad classes: moral, health, environmental, and family tradition and practice. The moral vegetarians anchored onto the principle of non-violence, upholding values such as not killing or harming animals. They also invoked the purity principle. Some participants consider non-veg food to be impure and believe that it spreads negative vibrations within the person. As one young man shared, non-veg food is in fact dead food. And when we consume non-veg food, it is like we are creating a graveyard in our bodies. Health vegetarians referred to the Ayurvedic principles, which encourage the selection of fresh food and foods that are locally grown. Environmental vegetarians believe that eating non-veg food harms our environment and one should not consume it. There is also the belief that meat consumption contributes to greenhouse gases, which in turn contribute to climate change and global warming. Family parampara, tradition and practice was another domain, and individuals shared that they have been socialized into vegetarian eating and that is what they continue to do. They also shared that very often there are cultural religious prescriptions about food and eating which they try to follow. And many of them also shared that some of our cultural religious practices are very useful in enhancing the value of food. So for example, food as prasad. Earlier it was a very common practice of offering food to God before eating, and this serves a valuable purpose. So the minute you offer food to God, it becomes like a gift from God. It's prasad, and therefore this food is to be respected and revered and treated with great care. Religious festivals also function as a means of regulating our diets. For example, even if some individuals eat non-vegetarian food, they would refrain from doing so during the month of Shravan. The transition from non-veg to veg food essentially involved the realization of the act of violence and the value of non-violence. Young individuals invoke the Indic principles of dharma and karma as a reasoning for the shift. Ahimsa paramo dharma. Non-violence is the greatest dharma. In fact, the root word of dharma means to sustain. As one young woman shared, our dharma teaches us that we should not harm anyone. Kisi ki hinsa nahi karni chahiye. It may be family, friends, or even animals. Dharma and karma are closely tied to food and eating. So for instance, one young woman shared, if I kick a dog just for fun, then that is bad karma. And here my karma gets attached. Karma, bandhan. Same way, eating non-veg by killing an animal is also bad karma. Mera karma band jata hai. Jo kharab karma maine kiya, wo ab mujh mein band gaya. The transition from veg to non-veg was essentially because of experimentation and exploration of different cuisines, situational conveniences, external pressure from peers, partners, the internet, something that somebody saw on Facebook and felt tempted to try, and gym trainers who very often advise their clients to at least eat some non-veg food items because these will enable the person to get the adequate protein that one may need. Personal choice also featured in the responses of the participants. So what one eats is an individual choice, they share, and hence we need to respect it. Some even express that ideologies cannot be imposed on us and we need to decide for ourselves. what we want to eat or not want to eat. There was quite a lot of discussion around food and self. So those who transitioned to vegetarian food, for example, shared that they observed changes in their temperament, they experienced more calmness and lesser aggressive tendencies, and a sense of eating food that is fresh and healthy. Self-regulation of oneself, according to the participants, begins with regulating one's desires, and food is a primary desire. So participants believe that one needs to regulate portions, avoid gluttony, avoid food wastage, as that is sin, it is pap, and wasting is disrespectful to God. In fact, offering food to underprivileged people has been a practice in the Indic philosophy. The other reason to regulate the amount of food you eat is also because in the long term, it has impact on the environment and it can lead to depletion of resources. Participants also believe that home-cooked food is better than outside food because it transmits the positive energies of the person who's cooking the food. So overall, we observe substantial continuity in beliefs, that is the core dharmic and karmic mentalities that facilitate environmental sustainability. For example, eat only as much as necessary, avoid wastage because it is anna ka anadar, ahimsa, karma bandhan, and concern about the environment. At the same time, we also need to accept the growing articulation of personal choice or individual autonomy in food and eating, and at the same time, create spaces wherein youth can discuss and debate such matters and simultaneously make efforts to enable young individuals to develop mindfulness about their food choices and its impact on self, society, and the environment. In ending, I would like to thank Mansi Thakkar, my doctoral student, for her help in interviewing the participants and analyzing the data. Dhanyavad. Thank you to Indic Academy for supporting my research inquiry into this fascinating topic. Thank you.